I didn't hear any sort of improvement because we have this special group that is under the leadership of His Holiness Dalai Lama. But now that is not going ahead.
Is there any hope then? Because the Chinese are doing what they do, which is to increase the material level and allow very little political development. So standard of living in Tibet is better than it was, isn't it?
I think what they want to do is maybe increase material comfort and material development so that people can relax and people can slowly forget all those sort of political issue or Tibetan issue.
It seems it's working. Tibetans are getting used to better income, more electricity, bigger schools and so on, and maybe they're forgetting the Buddhist heritage.
But I think it's difficult because one hand they are doing sort of this external development, but only the external development can give sort of really satisfaction to the people, because if there are no really religious freedom and also they're not allowed to put His Holiness Dalai Lama's picture, the Tibetan people, they have so much faith and devotion to His Holiness, then the Chinese government ignore everything. Then I think it's difficult because, we can see lots of self-immolation is going on in Tibet. I think this is a sign that they can't sort of get the loyalty from the Tibetan people.
I was going to ask you about the self-immolation. I think more than 100 Tibetans now have set themselves alight in the past 5 years. What's your advice to those people who consider that way of demonstration, of protest?
I think this is really sad.
Do you encourage people to do it, to think about that kind of protest?
Actually, I'm not. Several times I did a sort of appeal that this is not a good way to protest because over hundreds of people there did self-immolation, but nothing resulted. Nothing changes. That's why I'm request to Tibetan people, maybe stop self-immolation. Maybe this kind of courage they can put into education so that they can protect their culture and religious tradition. Then I think this is maybe more appropriate.
Would Tibetan people ever take up arms in the way it seems that another group calling for better treatment from China, the Uyghurs, appear to have done? Would the Tibetan people ever take up arms?
And the Buddhist teaching is encourage people to generating more compassion and non-violent action.
In some places, Buddhist groups have taken to violence. In Burma, for example, in Sri Lanka. Would they do it in Tibet?
Of course, it's difficult to say, I'm also worried because they already did self-immolation. This is not harmful to other beings, but it's harmful to your life. Sometimes I'm fear that this is kind of first step for violence.
The Dalai Lama is 78. He has a lot of supporters around the world, not just Buddhists, who hope he will live for a very long time.
Yes.
What is the process of transition? He himself is doing less now.
Yes.
Who will take over?
He's the sort of the spring head of all the Tibetan, Buddhist tradition. No one can take that role or that position. If we Tibetan people lost His Holiness, then I think that day, I don't know what thing will happen.